Hey there everyone, I'm Michael and welcome to another socially distant devlog. In this video I'm going to be talking to you guys about the terminal and a lot of optimizations and changes I've made to it. In fact, I completely rewrote it. And by the way, I recently ordered a Steam Deck which I have plans to do some game dev videos on and actually making games for it, hopefully. And they're not cheap, so if you guys want to see some Steam Deck content, some Steam Deck game dev on this channel, feel free to support me on Patreon to help reimburse the cost of that thing, because it would really mean a lot to me. And also, there's a perk involved because I will be doing a live stream at the end of this week, specifically for Patreon supporters. Usually I will only do streams for tier 2, but I'm actually going to change that this week and do it for everybody. So no matter what, if you're a Patreon supporter, you get access to that dev stream. I'll be working on the terminal some more in that dev stream, so it'll be exciting, hopefully. Anyway, that's gonna do it for the little shilling portion of the game. Now, funnily enough, I mentioned Steam Deck. After I bought it, I had to switch my account from one of my dev accounts to my main account to order the Steam Deck, and it actually confused socially distanced Steam support. So for this video, I'm gonna have to actually take the game into its piracy mode, because that's the only way I can get it to run right now without it crashing. So we're gonna fix that later on tonight, but for the sake of this video, it's fine for me to have pirated the game. I wrote it, it's fine, we're good to go, we are in piracy mode. Anyway, we're gonna start the game. It's fun to pirate a game that you actually wrote. Anyway, it's not technically piracy because I compiled it, it's my own build. Anyway, we are going to start this whole video off proper now. So, terminal. Let's run it and see what's new. Well, it's a terminal. Looks like there's nothing new. The only difference is the color is different. That's what it looks like. But in fact, it is very, very different now. I'll give you guys a hint. If I hover down to my taskbar, you'll see I have two projects open in Rider. I have Socially Distant, obviously, and then I have the suckless simple terminal open. Why do I have ST open? Well, that's because over the past few days, I've actually been porting the suckless terminal from C to C#, and thus to Unity, and into Socially Distant. And here's what the Socially Distant suckless terminal can do so far. It is feature complete, but there's still some missing stuff in terms of the game itself. But as far as it implementing ST, it's basically done. Let's have a look at it. So we'll start by running a little bit of the old Neofetch, and we'll know that it works because we get our color palettes and everything works. And right away, if you've played Socially Distant as a playtester, or you've watched previous devlogs, when I run Neofetch, the game does lag a little bit when I run it. But now you'll notice that it came up instantly. Let's do it again. It came up instantly. Okay, there was a little bit where it had to draw, but honestly, that's way better. Now it gets better. Whenever you run a lot of commands that output a lot of text, what'll happen is the game will auto-scroll so that you can see what you're doing. You know, any terminal will do that. Now, if I start doing a lot of stuff, you know, eventually what would happen in the old build of the game with the older terminal is there would be so much text off screen that the game would still have to render it even though it's off screen, because that's how Text Mesh Pro works, and it would just chug. Now, why was there text off screen? It's because there was scroll back. There's no scroll back in this terminal, but I will be adding scroll back in the future, in the near future, probably during the dev stream. Not sure about that though, because scrollback is pretty complicated with an actual VT100 terminal emulator, but we'll figure it out. But we don't have scroll back, but what we do have is a massive performance improvement because you can run as many commands as you want and fill the terminal with text. And there will be some lag, specifically when you go into full screen mode, but crucially, that lag is consistent and it will not get worse the more commands you run. So you won't have to do the whole ritual of, you run a bunch of commands, then you have to shell out if you're in an alternate shell, and then you'll have to do clear to clear the text. You don't have to do that anymore. You only have to clear if you feel like clearing, which is amazing. That is how a terminal should be. Now, I will demonstrate that there is some lag when you start running lots of commands inside of a full screen terminal, because it has to scroll the terminal, and you'll notice that NeoFetch is taking a little bit longer to draw onto the screen, but crucially, the game isn't dropping frame rate while it's doing this. Well, it's dropping a little bit, but we're going from like 200 to 150, whereabouts. That's honestly not anything to worry about. Considering that not a lot of people have over a 240 Hz refresh rate monitor, you're going to be fine. It's a hacking game. It's not a 3D open world. If it's running under 100 FPS, it's probably fine. But there's a little bit of lag, and there is a technical reason for why. It's to do with TextMesh Pro. Basically, TextMesh Pro has to rebuild its meshes every time the terminal scrolls. I did try to add the ability for it to scroll, to predict how much it has to scroll, but there were some bugs with that, so I've removed that. Yeah, there will be some lag, but it only happens on large terminals, like a full screen terminal on a 1440p monitor. Chances are, you'll be fine. You'll barely notice it. So that's fine. Now, as far as actual line editing, which is, being able to type in a command and see what you're typing, doing this, there are some changes to it. There are some removals, and there are some bugs, but overall it works fine. I'll start with the removals. You can no longer do tab completion because that was actually bugged in the entire game. So tab completion right now is completely gone. I'm going to add it back later, don't worry. Also, there is no support for Control-Delete or Control-Backspace for deleting words. That's been removed. I don't even know if that was in the game in the first place, so why did I mention that? But those are the removals. I've also removed word wrapping and replaced it with letter wrapping, and there's a reason for why. Letter wrapping is significantly less intensive on draws to the terminal, and for performance reasons, I decided that you don't need word wrap when editing text, so it's going to be letter wrap. Honestly, it's going to be fine. If you're wondering what the difference between word wrap is and letter wrapping is, it basically means that if I start typing a whole bunch of stuff here, let's actually resize the terminal back down to its normal size so that it's easier to get to the edge. If I start typing a whole bunch of stuff until I get to 132 columns, I'm going to enter a space, and word wrap would just, if I type test, the whole word test should wrap down to a new line, but letter wrap, it doesn't. And we actually found a bug. That is interesting. So there is a little bit of bug with it. That's fine, though. I will fix it later on. Don't worry. Anyway, yeah, so there's letter wrapping. Honestly, it's going to be fine. You'll be fine. But other than that, line editing is basically exactly how it was before. You can hit... well, you can type, of course, obviously. You can use the home key to go to the start of the line. End will take you to the end. Left and right arrow keys will navigate the cursor. If you have made a typo and you want to catch it. And then delete will delete the last, or the character at the cursor. Backspace will delete the character before the cursor. You know, we have insertion mode, so, you know, you can type things between text and it'll move the text along. And it'll actually yell at you if you try to do something that it doesn't like you doing. For example, if I hit delete and there's nothing to delete, it'll beep at me. If I hit backspace and there's nothing to delete, it'll beep at me. You can't hear those beeps because I'm not recording them, but they are there. Rest assured, they are there. And on the to-do list for this, I want to add command line history. So if you hit the up arrow key, it should do command line history, and down arrow key as well. But that's not been added yet. I want to add auto-completion, but right now the tab key will yell at you because it's not implemented yet. And I want to add completion scrolling. So if you hit like control plus an arrow key or something, no, I can't do control plus arrow key because that is mapped to a window key. So we won't do that, but we'll figure something out for completions. There's code in the game for handling the character codes for it, but I just haven't implemented the actual functionality. So for now, it just beeps at you, and that's fine. Now, as far as changes to the terminal itself, basically what happened was, if we run NeoFetch, we'll see what happened. I've basically replaced all of the in-game character codes for changing bold, italic, and color and all of that stuff. I've replaced them with standard ANSI control sequences. So if you've ever worked with a Linux terminal or written a command line program, then you know exactly what those are, or chances are you do, or you use a library that knows how to use them. But ANSI control sequences are responsible for, you know, these things here in NeoFetch, the little color bars. They help you do bold, italic, underline. Like in the help command, you can see that command help is bolded and underlined. You can see that these descriptions are slightly darker than the rest of the text. That's the thing that ANSI sequences can do. The line editing of the game uses a lot of ANSI escape sequences. For example, in fact, when you hit the home key, that itself is an ANSI escape sequence that the game picks up and says, go home. Same with the end key, go to the end. Arrow keys as well. And, you know, there's the way the cursor is moving around right now, that's all done with ANSI escape sequences. You know, they're very powerful. And I'm going to have a page on my wiki explaining what is supported by Socially Distant and what they all mean and how to use them. Because there are some that are important for input and some that are important for controlling the terminal itself. So it's a good thing to know if you decide to mod the game. But I will also be adding a friendly API to work with them, which will also be documented on the wiki, wiki.acidiclight.dev. Anyway, so yeah, ANSI escape sequences are supported in the game now. Very technical. Most of you guys who play the game won't care about what that means, but for those who understand what it means, it's a lot better than the old system that we had. So it's exciting. The terminal is going to be a lot more powerful to do, and you know what? If you don't understand what ANSI escape sequences do and why they're so important, what I can do is I could SSH into an actual Linux server and bring up like a text-based user. You know what? Let's actually do that. Let's go into terminal on Windows, and I can run nano. You know what nano does, right? You have this little bar at the top of the screen with the blue background, and then you have the little controls at the bottom. Guess what's doing all of that? ANSI escape sequences. So that'll let me do fancy text UIs and all that wonderful stuff, and ANSI artwork that you would find on like old bulletin board systems. I can do that in-game now, so it's really cool. It's going to be really fun to work with. So, yeah. That's exciting. Now, the next video I'm going to make on the terminal is going to be one about a massive bug in the terminal that I fixed the other day. That's going to be really entertaining, and it'll teach you a lot about computer science and programming and memory management. So if you want to learn something new, tomorrow I will make that video for you guys, and it will be very fun. But I will end off with a little quote from Raphael, the former lead developer of Restitched, and a mentor of mine, and a good friend of mine, related to the bug I'm going to show you guys tomorrow. Programming is all about making mistakes and spending a lot of time fixing them. When you see it like that, you cannot feel bad about making those mistakes. And that's going to give a little lead into that video tomorrow, so that's exciting. There have been a lot of mistakes made in socially distanced development that I have fixed, the terminal being one of them, and you guys have seen the result of those fixes, so I'm very excited. And as always, I've been Michael. Thank you to Potato Farm and Tobias Ascend for supporting me on Patreon. And if you want to support me on Patreon as well, link in the description below. If you want to follow development of Socially Distant, I'll have the Twitter link below. All that wonderful stuff in the description below. And as always, I've been Michael. Hope you enjoyed the video. Can't wait to see you guys at the dev stream. I'll see you guys in the next one. As always, hope you learned something. I've been Michael. Thanks so much for watching. I butchered that outro. I keep doing that, but that's fine. I'll see you guys in the next video. Thanks for watching.